would you characterize the first half earnings?
So we are very happy with our first half earnings, 33 billion of revenues. Our EBIT at 3.2 billion is increasing 3% and in fact 6% organically. So we are going with a lot of confidence into the second half. What I would say beyond that is really the strategic progress that we've made over the first half that is giving us this confidence. You have mentioned some of this. Our wind and solar developments are doubling versus last year. In fact, we're going to install 3 gigawatts this year versus 1.5 last year. We have bought a company on gas networks, as you know, in Brazil, very important market for us. So also very good. And then last but certainly not least, our client solutions business with a 10% sales growth is really coming along. And so, like I said, lots of confidence going into the second half, which is why we have confirmed the guidance earlier this morning.
Yes, you've said that you are very confident regarding the full-year guidance. Before we get on to that, I just want to ask about gas prices, Judith, because European consumers are benefiting from low gas prices this year. Do you expect that to continue into next year, or are there causes for concern on the supply side?
So gas prices will, of course, vary with the markets. And so it's not a concern to us. For the consumers, from our side, it's a pass-through on the cost. And for the consumers, quite frankly, there is an adjustment in France on a monthly basis. And so they will see a slight fluctuation. But we don't see any major reason for concern on this topic.
Okay, so you see a continuation into next year, at least for now. Judith, you credit lower than average temperatures helping to improve group results in the period that ended. What kind of impact will the record-breaking heat wave that we've seen across continental Europe have on your results going forward, do you think?
In the second quarter, indeed, we were able to offset all the impacts that we'd had in the first quarter. So a very interesting year this year, where really 2 months of the first quarter were much warmer than normal, and then April and May were much colder than normal. So just to give you a sense of size here, this was more than 100 million impact both ways, and netting almost to zero for the first half. So this is an impact for sure. The temperatures are different this year than in many of the statistics that we're looking at, obviously. So we're going to see what it means for the second half. But most of the impact traditionally is seen in the early winter months. So most of that should be behind us. And like I said earlier on the earnings call, this is actually one of the reasons giving us confidence going into the second half.
I want to also talk a little bit about the uncertainty you might be seeing and experiencing in the UK. Is there any evidence that Brexit uncertainties are slowing your business in that country? What assumptions are you and your team making when it comes to a no-deal Brexit? Because that's certainly what the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, is trying to prepare everyone for.
The Brexit probably impacts us, or potential Brexit or hard Brexit probably impacts us less than most companies. We produce electricity in the UK for the UK. We also provide energy efficiency solutions to our customers in the country for the country. So we have, of course, much less of cross-border transport of products or services than other people do. And so I think it will impact us much less. Now, of course, if it did lead to a more generalized pressure on GDP growth in Europe or in the UK, then that could have an impact. But also there, quite frankly, most of our revenue drivers or growth drivers are more related to the mega trends when it comes to more renewables, more energy efficiency, and less related to GDP growth.
Judith, last month, Engie made a big acquisition in Brazil, and earlier this morning you were saying on the earnings call that Engie is looking to the US for small and medium-sized acquisitions. So that's acquisitions. In terms of divestments, you've divested most of your coal assets in the past 3 years. What's next for sale?
So indeed, we announced at our Capital Market Day earlier this year that we were going to make 6 billion of divestments over the next 3 years. About 45% of that is already done, which was related, just like you said, mostly to coal divestments in various countries. So we have a few topics like that we're going to continue to work on, but quite frankly, very much aligned with the previous 3 years, mostly around greening our portfolio and reducing coal exposure. Those are really the main items that we're after.